Good afternoon. My name is Diljot and I am the business analyst of Group 3 project. Today we will discuss the police reported collisions in Canada in 2017. In the absence of Trinidad, three of us will be presenting today. She had already submitted her work separately. Road accidents have been one of the greatest health hazards of modern times and are very costly in terms of human life, health systems, emergency services, insurance companies, and law enforcement involved. The objective of this project is to gather and analyze available collision data and development event trees specific to collision involving age of drivers, model of the vehicles, and road conditions. All drivers wish to minimize the possibility of collisions. If they are fully aware of the major factors that lead to the accidents, they can take actions to mitigate the chance of being involved in collisions, thus avoiding personal injuries or incurring financial costs. In 2017, 118,989 collisions occurred in Canada. 0.2% of these collisions resulted in at least one fatality. The number of collisions have been trending higher in recent years. We have analyzed National Collision Database (NCDB) of 2017 to derive an understanding of which variables constitute a significant risk to being involved in a collision. This database contains all police-reported motor vehicle collisions on public roads in Canada. It is a common perception that poor road conditions are the main cause of road accidents in Canada. However, there are multiple other contributing factors, including immediate reasons for the critical pre-crash event, gender and age of the driver, traffic control device, and atmospheric conditions. Collision rate can be assumed to be closely connected to the number of fatalities. The higher the collision rate is, the higher the mortality rate is. Here, we have compared fatalities data for Canada against 4 other countries, US, Australia, Sweden, and Norway, which have either similar geography, climate, or demography. Here we can see how Canada is ranked in fatalities compared to the other countries. The number of road deaths per day and deaths per capita in Canada is the second highest after the US. Understanding more about the circumstances behind accidents could help general public take some actions which may mitigate the chance of being involved in the collisions, thus avoiding personal injuries or incurring financial costs. It could help provincial and municipal planning departments reduce adverse driving conditions. The insurance companies develop more effective and efficient policies, and auto manufacturers improve their safety features. The traffic fatalities have decreased overall since 1994 to 2014. However, since 2014, the downward trend had stopped and fatalities are increasing. This indicates that there is still room for improvement, and knowing the underlying factor which cause accidents will educate drivers. The above table gives an example of how costly planning of roadways can be. The research using the NCDB can provide examples of roadway configuration, surface alignment, and traffic control in which collisions can take place. Thus, when designing roadways in the future, planning departments can design more safe and effective roadways, which may minimize redesign in the future, saving money for the jurisdictions. Net vehicle claims have increased steadily in Canada over the past years. In order to reduce the risk from auto policies, the insurance companies and their actuaries need detailed information on the causes of accidents. The NCDB contains in-depth information on things like times of collisions, vehicle type, age and gender of the drivers. Our analysis hopes to to give a clear picture of what influences collisions, which could help insurance companies write more stringent policies to control for the risk, saving them money in claim paid. In addition, they can stratify the risks by different variables and adjust premiums accordingly. The above histogram by itself shows that more newer vehicles were involved in accidents in 2017. While this is expected due to the fact that there are more newer vehicles on the roads each year, this information, when combined with other data from NCBD, will give more insight into how vehicles and passengers fare depending on their age. Our findings show that most of the accidents occurred on dry weekends during the rush hour, and male drivers are responsible for more accidents. Most of the accidents happened on intersection with two or more roads, misjudgment of gap and or other speed being the main contributing factor for the collision rather than the road conditions.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I was the data scientist along with Aisha, and also data visualizer along with Kate. Today I'm presenting both Aisha's and my portion of data preparation, the basic modeling that we performed using Python and pandas and so on. We did end up using 3 databases, and I'll talk about them as we go through. So we invoked or called or downloaded our tools we needed to. Then we read our database. I got an error. We got an error. We tried to change it with that, as we emailed back and forth a lot. So if I say I by accident, don't worry about it. And then it didn't work, but I left it in for my own learning. And then we got the info. We looked at all our variables. Luckily, we do have a listing that came with the database. This is the National Collision Database for Canada for 2017. So what we did was we had to convert some things to number values, and that was the number of collisions, vehicles in the collisions. We had to get rid of some of the unknowns first, which we did. And then we looked at the data, made sure it changed. Then what we had to do is we had to clean our data, and we had to start cleaning our data. We had to drop all of our variables that weren't useful to us. So we had several, and there was U for unknown, X for not provided by the jurisdiction. Remember, this is collected from all over Canada, so different jurisdictions do different reporting. N is not applicable, and Q, the choice was not in the preceding values. We didn't have any more information about this, and we had a lot of data, so we left this and took it out for now. If it would have been a longer project, perhaps we would have put it back in and done more analysis and so on. Then we had to convert some columns to numeric, and that's the vehicle year, the age of the passengers and drivers, and the position of the passengers. So we did that. Now, one thing we had to do, there were duplicate entries for each collision because it had the driver plus all the passengers and the position they were in. So the position of the passengers, or the position of the people, that's not passengers, that's people, was 11 for the drivers. So we had to get rid of everything that wasn't 11. I was very thrilled at work. Aisha and I were very new at this coding. So we had lots of comments where we were thrilled, and we'd text each other and go, yay, it worked, and so on. So that was a lot of fun, along with the stress. Anyway, we did a lot of showing tails and heads and stuff to see what happened and if it worked, and the info. So we can just scroll through all that. Then we did a histogram of vehicle year. We did some changes so that we could get the title and so on. And as expected, we saw most of the collisions were newer vehicles because there's just that many more of them on the road. This is 2017 all the way down to 2000. There were a lot. It dropped off from before 2000. Okay, then we looked at the position of the people in the car just to make sure it was all the driver. Then we looked at the age of the drivers. because of course we've taken out all the passengers, and noticed that the minimum was 10. So we didn't know if that was an error. It should have been 18 or 16 or some other number, or it was they were actually a passenger, or if it was actually a 10-year-old driving that got caught in an accident. So we decided, because we didn't have any more information, to get rid of that, and we took away all the drivers who were under 16. Now, 16 and 17, depending on the jurisdictions across Canada, it varied. So we just went with 16 and left it at that. We didn't have information on the jurisdiction, or we could have done some groupings. Okay, so we did that. We looked at the description of the age again, and we're very happy because the minimum was 16 and it worked. Okay, so the age of drivers involved in collisions in Canada turned out to be, of course, as we expect based on insurance, high in the 20s, dropping off slightly, but still high in middle age, and of course dropping very low down because there's fewer drivers at that age. Then we converted it to a new file so that we could use it for visualizing. So the second data set, we continued with the just drivers, did some more changes. Again, heads and stuff. What we had to do, and this was actually Aisha's doing this part of this in particular, she changed the codes into words to make it easier to show some graphs. So we looked here at severity of collisions. Obviously, there's more personal injury than fatal. Well, I shouldn't say obviously. It's testament to what good drivers we are in Canada and the strength of the cars. So that's what we did for our just little graph there. She changed the hours into hour format, and again changed codes to weekdays. Again, this was for us to do a visualization, but also for the visualizers, me and Kate, to kind of have a head start on that. We did a pie graph. Sorry, I've got a lot of little databases here and I'm just rushing a little bit. Collisions in Canada per weekday showed roughly the same. You will see we did a heat map in Power BI that actually gives much more information, but this kind of shows, it's a little bit heavier on the weekdays. I had anticipated maybe there were more on the weekends, but discounted rush hour as being so many more vehicles on the road. Anyways, we plotted that, sent it to a new file, and that was the end of that database for our coding. Now, we went to a second database, the 1999 to 2017. That was a very large database, but we wanted to see some time trends. So we used this, looking at the info. What we did is take out everything less than 2008. Just to give only 10 years, so it wasn't such a big database. Again, we ran through it, did all the same conversions because it arose from the same type of data, and looked at the age of drivers involved in collisions, pretty similar. Again, heavy over at the left-hand side with the younger age, and created a new file. Finally, the last thing we did was we used a third database, locations, and it was a very simple database. I pulled it actually into Excel first, looked at it because there were so many merged cells with titles and formatting from the way I had to download it, because it wasn't a CSV file to start with, I had to copy and paste. I ended up doing it in Excel first. So yes, I cheated. However, we needed to have something that had the provinces. So here's the provinces, so we could get the visualizers to do some kind of graph. Okay, and then we did this. Here's a quick injuries in Canada, and that was the end of that. Okay, I'm going to pass it on to Kate to talk about visualization. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kang Min Baek, and I'm a data analyst in our group. I'm going to talk about the visualization of the data we've analyzed using Power BI. First of all, we'll take a look at collisions from 2008 to 2017 to see the overall collision trend for the last 10 years. Second, we'll look at Canada state accident status in 2019 by province. Finally, I'm going to focus specifically on collisions in 2017 and go into more detail on the data we've collected. In the dashboard of collisions from 2008 to 2017, the percentage of accidents by gender shows men accounts for 57 to 59% of the accidents. As Stephanie mentioned before, the number of collisions per year has been declining overall, showing negative correlation. However, the downward trend has stopped in 2014. The next dashboard indicates which vehicle model is more related to car accidents. As you can see, vehicles manufactured from 2003, 2004, 5, 6, and 7 account for a significant portion of car accidents. Vehicles from the early 2010s are the next group. It might reflect car itself has some technical problems due to the age of the car or lack of regular checkup. When do most car accidents happen? This heat map shows the month of each year. The darker color means more car accidents and yellow color means fewer. Despite the long cold weather in winter, the number of car accidents in Canada tends to be evenly spread throughout the year. February to February to April shows a fewer accidents with yellow colors. All of our dashboards are interactive. If I select certain month in the heat map, the rest of the chart in dashboard will change accordingly. Let's talk about fatalities from Canada accident stats in 2019. One thing interesting is how Nunavut has a high percentage of fatalities per 100,000 licensed drivers, but is lower than the Yukon in terms of 100,000 population. So they might have a lower percentage of drivers there, or road condition, severe weather, lack of medical service might affect as well. In the same perspective, Nunavut shows the highest fatalities per billion kilometer driven. Here in Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Nunavut are top 3 highest injuries per 100,000 licensed drivers. Among our stakeholders, planning department for roadways and insurance companies might utilize this information to prevent collisions or measure the cost for the collisions. Last but not least, dashboard collisions in 2017. We use detailed 2017 data to get a better understanding of car collisions. There were 116,000 collision cases in 2017. 58% was related to men and 42% to women. The next chart shows collisions by age. The range between 18 to 28 shows the highest collisions, and the trend is negative over time. These results may be affected by drivers' experience. More collisions occurred for vehicles manufactured between 2013 to 2016, which are relatively newer. For this chart showing collisions by month, the number of collisions increases starting from May, which is the beginning of summer in Canada. The number of collisions remain high until the end of the year. Another interesting thing is most of collisions did not happen in the snowy or rainy weather in 2017. 73% occurred during clear sunny days. Rainy and cloudy weather were the weather conditions with the second most collisions. In terms of road configuration, intersections with at least 2 roadways account for 50% of collisions, and non-intersection accounts for another 44%. Misjudgment of gap or other speed might be the main factor. In this next dashboard, I try to connect road surface type with the severity of collisions. Almost all collisions happened on dry roads. This held true for fatal collisions, these yellow colors as well. Wet, icy, and snow surface types were the next set of road conditions with the most collisions. The last dashboard shows collisions by time and the day of the week. A significant number of collisions in 2017 happened during afternoon rush hour from 3 to 6 p.m. Also, Wednesday to Friday had the largest share of the collisions than the other days of the week. So this is our key findings for National Collision Database in 2017. Based on the 2017 collision data we've analyzed, this information can help the four groups of stakeholders identified earlier make better decisions regarding vehicle and driving safety. As this was not a comprehensive analysis of all collisions in Canada, it has given us some interesting information on what areas could be studied next. Thanks for listening.